Business ventures have struggled to gain traction for them, let's just be honest.
And refusing to sign the documents unless he can guarantee prevent her from putting his kids on
homes in America is quietly changing hands behind the scenes.
Prince Harry's battle over security in Britain has taken another dramatic turn, but according to royal author Tom Bower, the real story may have very little to do with safety at all. For years, Harry has argued that returning to the United Kingdom without armed police protection places him and his family at risk. He has repeatedly described the issue as one of personal security, insisting that the threat level surrounding him remains serious. Yet critics continue to ask a simple question. If the danger is truly as severe as claimed, where is the evidence that proves it?
Meghan is defying the King and William by using her title and royal logo.
Their royal marriage may be on the verge of total collapse. And the allegations...
That question sits at the center of a growing controversy, and it is one that Tom Bower has spent considerable time examining. Bower is not just another royal commentator. As the investigative author behind several best-selling books about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, he has built a reputation for digging beneath headlines and challenging narratives that others are reluctant to question. While much of the media focuses on the latest public statement or social media reaction, Bower's approach has always been different. He follows documents, witnesses, timelines, and facts. And according to him, the security dispute may reveal something much bigger than a disagreement over police protection. At the heart of the debate is a process that has existed for years. Requests for security are not granted automatically because of a title, past position, or family connection. Decisions are based on risk assessments. Authorities examine travel plans, locations, intelligence reports, and most importantly, whether a credible threat exists.
Harry himself appears to be spending more and more time away from his home in my decision.
Prince Harry allegedly revealed that he feels he was completely catfished by the
parallel between a married member of the royal family, which is what?
Supporters of Prince Harry argue that his status alone makes him vulnerable. Critics respond that status is not enough. They point out that despite years of legal challenges and public campaigning, Harry has struggled to convince decision-makers that the level of danger he describes justifies permanent taxpayer-funded protection. And that is where the argument becomes increasingly complicated. Because if Britain is truly too dangerous for Harry to visit without armed officers, then many observers wonder why returning remains such an important priority. If the risk is genuinely life-threatening, wouldn't the logical solution simply be to stay away? Instead, the battle continues. According to Bower, the issue may not be about physical security as much as symbolism. Armed protection does more than provide safety. It signals importance. It communicates status. Convoys, police escorts, and official security teams send a message to the public that the person receiving them occupies a special place within the national hierarchy. For critics, that distinction matters. They argue that Harry and Meghan made a decision years ago when they stepped away from royal duties and relocated to California. The couple chose independence. They chose commercial opportunities. They chose a life outside the institution. What they did not choose, critics say, was the consequence that came with it: losing access to privileges reserved for working members of the royal family. That tension has never fully disappeared. Every new court case, every security dispute, and every public appearance seems to bring the same question back into focus. Can someone leave the royal system while still expecting many of its benefits? For some observers, the answer is obvious. For Harry, however, the fight appears far from over. And now, with the Invictus Games approaching and public attention once again turning toward Britain, the pressure surrounding that question is growing rapidly. Because the next chapter of this story may determine far more than who pays for security. It may determine how Prince Harry's future relationship with Britain, the monarchy, and even his public identity will ultimately be defined.
coming out are absolutely explosive. Furious, invisibly frustrated,
Meghan is, and a divorced member of the royal family.
As the debate over security intensifies, Another question is beginning to overshadow everything else. If this battle isn't really about protection, then what exactly is Prince Harry fighting for? That is where Tom Bower's analysis takes a far more controversial turn. According to Bower, the answer may lie not in fear, but in perception. Think about what royal security actually represents. It isn't merely a team of officers standing nearby. It is a visible reminder of rank, importance, and institutional backing. Armed protection signals that the state considers you a figure of exceptional significance. It tells the world that wherever you go, extraordinary measures will be taken on your behalf. For decades, that level of treatment came naturally to Prince Harry. He was born into it. The flashing lights, the security details, the protected entrances, the carefully managed appearances, they were all part of the reality of being one of the most recognizable members of the royal family. But then everything changed. The move to California wasn't simply a change of address. It was a complete redefinition of identity. Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties and began building lives outside the institution that had shaped them for years. At first, the transition appeared promising. Massive media deals followed. Exclusive interviews attracted global attention. Streaming contracts promised enormous opportunities. Publishers lined up. Executives wanted meetings. For a moment, it seemed as if the couple had successfully achieved something many believed impossible, leaving royal life while maintaining worldwide influence. But influence is a fragile thing. It can disappear far faster than it arrives. And according to critics, the momentum that once carried Harry and Meghan forward has slowed dramatically. The excitement surrounding their departure has faded. The shock value has diminished. The endless headlines no longer generate the same level of public fascination they once did. In the entertainment world, attention is currency, and maintaining relevance can become an exhausting struggle. This is where Bower believes the security battle begins to look very different. Because if armed protection is granted, it does more than provide safety. It reinforces status. It preserves the image of a prince who remains connected to the highest levels of public life. For some observers, that symbolic value may be every bit as important as the practical security itself. And that's why the argument continues to generate such intense reactions. Many people believe Harry wants recognition that reflects his royal heritage. Others believe he simply wants what he sees as fair treatment. The truth may exist somewhere between those two positions. What cannot be denied is that public patience appears to be wearing thin. Across social media, newspaper comment sections, and television debates, the same frustration surfaces repeatedly. Many taxpayers question why someone who voluntarily stepped away from official royal duties should continue receiving benefits funded by the public. The issue becomes even more sensitive during a period when economic pressures affect millions of ordinary families. Rising living costs, strained public services, and budget concerns have created an environment where special treatment is increasingly difficult to justify. For critics, the optics are terrible. Every demand for additional security is viewed through the lens of public spending. Every legal challenge is measured against the financial burden it could potentially create. And every new headline deepens the divide between supporters and detractors. Yet despite all of this, Harry remains tied to one project that still commands widespread respect: the Invictus Games. Founded to support wounded and injured service personnel, the event has long been considered one of his most meaningful achievements.
Pursuing separate projects, that's the reality.
Unlike many of the controversies surrounding the Sussexes, Invictus has generally enjoyed broad public goodwill. The games represent resilience, recovery, determination, the ability to rebuild after profound sacrifice. For many veterans and their families, the mission matters far more than the personalities involved, which is why the upcoming games in Birmingham carry enormous significance. They are not just another public appearance. They are a test of Harry's relationship with Britain, a test of public opinion, and perhaps most importantly, a test of whether he can still separate his personal controversies from a cause that many people genuinely admire. Because as the event approaches, concerns are beginning to emerge. Questions about logistics, questions about costs, questions about security arrangements. Questions about whether the focus will remain on the competitors or once again shift toward the ongoing drama surrounding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. For Harry, the stakes could hardly be higher. The Invictus Games remain one of the few areas where he continues to receive significant public support. Any controversy surrounding the event risks damaging something that has become central to his public identity. And according to Bauer, time is running short. Preparations are accelerating. Schedules are being finalized. Decisions must be made. Soon, the debate will move beyond courtrooms and television studios. It will collide with reality, because when the games begin, the world will no longer be discussing hypothetical scenarios. People will be watching what actually happens, how Harry is received, how the public reacts, whether Meghan appears, and whether the focus remains on the veterans the games were created to honor. What happens next could reshape the conversation entirely, because beneath the arguments over security, status, and royal privilege lies a much larger question. Can Prince Harry still command the kind of respect and goodwill he once enjoyed? Or is Britain preparing to send him a message he may not want to hear? That answer may arrive sooner than anyone expected. The closer the Invictus Games draw, the more uncomfortable the situation becomes. Because Birmingham isn't just another stop on a schedule. It's becoming the place where years of controversy, criticism, and unanswered questions may finally collide. On paper, the event should be a triumph. The Invictus Games were created to celebrate wounded and injured service personnel. They showcase resilience, courage, and determination. For many participants, the competition represents far more than medals. It represents recovery, purpose, a chance to reclaim part of their lives after sacrifice. That's why the games have always carried emotional weight. People want the spotlight on the competitors. They want stories of perseverance. They want inspiration. But critics increasingly fear that something else keeps stealing attention. The headlines, the security disputes, the royal drama, the endless speculation surrounding Harry and Meghan. And that concern has become louder than ever as Birmingham prepares for one of the biggest events in the organization's history. According to Tom Bauer, the timing could not be more difficult for Prince Harry. Every appearance now arrives with baggage. Every decision is scrutinized. Every request is analyzed for hidden motives. And every public move generates another wave of debate. The problem isn't necessarily the games themselves. It's everything attached to them. Because wherever Harry goes, controversy follows. For years, supporters have argued that this is unfair. They point out that the Duke remains deeply committed to the veteran community and that Invictus has positively impacted countless lives. Critics acknowledge those achievements. But they also argue that the event has become increasingly overshadowed by personal branding and public relations battles. Whether that's fair or not is a matter of opinion. What matters is perception. And perception often becomes reality in the court of public opinion. The challenge facing Harry is that trust appears weaker than it once was. There was a time when many people instinctively gave him the benefit of the doubt. That goodwill came from years of military service, charity work, and his reputation as one of the more relatable members of the royal family. But trust is difficult to maintain and even harder to rebuild once it's damaged. The interviews, the memoir, the accusations, the family conflicts, each controversy chipped away at that foundation. Now, many people approach new developments with skepticism rather than sympathy. And that shift changes everything. Because when trust disappears, questions multiply. Questions about motives, questions about finances, questions about priorities, questions about whether public causes are being used to advance private interests. In recent months, discussions surrounding the financial side of the Invictus Games have generated increasing attention online. Supporters insist the organization continues to do important work. Critics have raised concerns and called for greater transparency. It's important to note that many of the claims circulating online remain allegations and opinions rather than established facts. However, the sheer volume of debate illustrates a larger problem. Confidence has weakened. And when confidence weakens, every decision becomes controversial. Every expense becomes suspicious. Every explanation becomes insufficient. This is the environment Harry now faces. Not one of automatic support, not one of unquestioned admiration, but one where people demand answers. And perhaps the most damaging aspect isn't opposition from critics. It's exhaustion from former supporters. People who once defended him now appear increasingly frustrated, not necessarily because they hate him, but because they no longer understand what he's trying to accomplish. One week the conversation is about reconciliation, the next it's about lawsuits, then security, then media disputes, then family tensions. The narrative constantly shifts, and when a public figure lacks a clear direction, confusion inevitably follows. That confusion extends to Harry's relationship with Britain itself, because despite everything that's happened, there remains an emotional connection between the prince and the country where he was born. Britain watched him grow up. Britain watched him serve in the military. Britain mourned alongside him after the death of his mother. For many years, the relationship felt deeply personal, which makes the current situation feel even more tragic. Instead of admiration, there is division. Instead of unity, there is conflict. Instead of celebration, there is constant argument. And nowhere is that divide more visible than in discussions about a future under Prince William. This is where Tom Bower believes Harry's greatest concern may lie. Because King Charles remains a bridge, a buffer, a figure who, despite the tensions, is still Harry's father. Family relationships are complicated, and fathers often see possibilities that others no longer do. But the future monarchy may operate very differently. Prince William has repeatedly been associated with the idea of a leaner, more focused royal institution. A monarchy built around a smaller number of working royals. A monarchy designed for a different era. If that vision becomes reality, the space available for Harry could shrink dramatically. And that possibility changes the entire equation. Because suddenly this isn't just about today's headlines. It's about tomorrow's relevance. It's about legacy. It's about whether Harry remains connected to the institution that gave him his global identity, or whether he gradually becomes something else entirely, a private citizen with a famous name. That possibility may explain why every battle feels so important, why every legal challenge is pursued so aggressively, why every symbolic victory matters. Because symbolism often becomes survival when status is your most valuable asset. And yet, even as these larger questions loom overhead, another challenge continues growing in the background. The rumors surrounding Harry and Meghan's future. Whispers about financial pressure. Speculation about business ventures. Questions about whether their post-royal strategy is delivering the results they expected. Some of those rumors may be exaggerated. Others may be completely wrong. But their existence reveals an uncomfortable truth. People are no longer talking about limitless opportunity. They're talking about uncertainty. And uncertainty is dangerous, especially for public figures whose influence depends on perception. As speculation surrounding Prince Harry continues to intensify, one uncomfortable reality keeps surfacing again and again. The conversation is no longer focused on what he achieved. It's focused on what he lost. And for someone who spent his entire life at the center of global attention, that shift may be more significant than any legal battle, media dispute, or security disagreement. Because status is a strange thing. Most people never think about it until it's gone. For decades, Prince Harry occupied a position few people on Earth could even imagine. Doors opened automatically. Invitations arrived without effort. His presence alone guaranteed headlines. He didn't need to chase attention. Attention chased him. But the world has changed. And perhaps more importantly, Harry's place within that world has changed too. The evidence is often subtle. Small moments, images that go viral, videos that spark thousands of comments, public appearances that would once have dominated international news cycles but now disappear within days. Each incident seems minor on its own. Together, however, they paint a picture that many royal observers find difficult to ignore. The influence that once appeared limitless no longer looks untouchable. And that's where the story becomes less about royalty and more about human nature. Because beneath the titles, the headlines, and the controversies is a man confronting a challenge that countless former celebrities, athletes, politicians, and public figures have faced before. How do you adapt when the spotlight begins moving elsewhere? Some embrace the change. Others fight it. Some reinvent themselves. Others spend years trying to recreate a version of the past that can never fully return. Critics believe Harry falls into the second category. They argue that many of his recent battles share a common theme. Whether it's security, public recognition, media coverage, or royal connections, the underlying struggle appears to be about preserving relevance. Supporters strongly disagree. They see a man protecting his family, defending his reputation, and standing up for principles he believes matter. The truth likely contains elements of both perspectives. But regardless of which side someone supports, one fact remains undeniable. The pressure surrounding Harry has never been greater. His relationship with the royal family remains fractured. His public image remains deeply divided. His future role remains uncertain. And perhaps most importantly, expectations remain enormous. That's the burden of being Prince Harry. Ordinary people are allowed to fail quietly. Public figures fail under a microscope. Every mistake becomes a headline. Every setback becomes a narrative. Every disappointment becomes content for millions of strangers to debate. And lately, those debates have become increasingly harsh. The criticism is no longer limited to royal commentators. It now comes from former supporters, casual observers, political analysts, media personalities, and even people who once defended him passionately. The reason is simple. People expected a different ending. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal life, many believed they were beginning a remarkable new chapter. Freedom, independence, opportunity, the chance to create something entirely their own. Instead, years later, much of the conversation remains trapped in the same place. The monarchy, the family disputes, the grievances, the conflicts. The institution they supposedly left behind continues to dominate the story. And that creates a paradox. The more Harry tries to separate himself from royal life, the more dependent his public identity appears to be on it. Without the monarchy, there is no royal controversy. Without royal controversy, much of the public fascination disappears. Without public fascination, the media attention declines. And without media attention, influence becomes harder to maintain. That cycle may be the true challenge facing Harry today. Not security, not court cases, not critics, relevance. Because relevance cannot be demanded. It must be earned repeatedly, every year, every project, every appearance, every decision. And that's where the Invictus Games become so important. Unlike the endless arguments and family drama, Invictus offers something tangible, something meaningful, something larger than headlines. Veterans overcoming adversity, communities coming together, stories of resilience and courage. The games represent a version of Prince Harry that many people still admire. The version focused on service rather than conflict, action rather than accusation, purpose rather than publicity, which is why the upcoming event feels so consequential. It may be one of the last opportunities to shift the conversation, to remind people of accomplishments instead of controversies, to place veterans back at the center of the narrative, to demonstrate that there is still a role for Harry beyond royal drama. But even that opportunity carries risks. Because public patience appears increasingly limited, any distraction, any controversy, any perception that the event is being used for personal promotion could trigger another wave of criticism. The margin for error has become incredibly small. And while Harry faces these challenges publicly, another reality looms quietly in the background. Time changes everything. Public opinion, political priorities, media landscapes, royal institutions, even family relationships. The battles dominating headlines today may seem insignificant a decade from now. What will remain is legacy. And legacy is built over years, not news cycles. That's why so many observers believe Harry stands at a crossroads. One path leads toward reconciliation, purpose, and a redefined public role. The other leads toward endless conflict, permanent division, and a reputation forever overshadowed by controversy. Which path he chooses remains uncertain. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The decisions made over the next few years may matter more than anything that has happened since his departure from royal life. Because eventually every public figure reaches a moment when excuses run out. When explanations lose their power. When people stop focusing on what happened to you and start focusing on what you did next. For Prince Harry, that moment may already have arrived. And as the world watches the next chapter unfold, one question hangs over everything. Can he rewrite his story before history writes it for him?